Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first session of this year's Buzz and Content Conversations. So, last year we launched this property along with the inaugural Buzz and Content Awards. After the event, we got a good feedback requesting us to make this property a monthly affair. And in the first monthly Buzz and Content Conversations, we are going to talk about the topic content mapping and why aren't we doing it enough. It might sound a bit technical, but I tell you, mapping content is a very basic checkbox of any content marketing strategy. It is good to see that so many Indian brands have started with their content marketing journeys, but only a few focus on the content mapping aspect of it. The idea is not to create one expensive or a unique piece of content, but to deliver content when the consumer needs it actually. So it is exactly the art of creating and distributing content to reach the audience at the right time and keeping them engaged until they convert into prospective buyers. So this is the exact definition of content mapping. A few days ago, I had a word with Shrutika Nagpal of Scatter, and she told me that content mapping is exactly like building a relationship. If you start talking about family planning on your first date, so what are the chances of you going to meet your date again? Similarly, I have with me Snehil Gautam, Head of Marketing and Growth at Housing.com, Makan.com, and Prop Tiger. Prabhakar Tiwari, Chief Growth Officer, Angel Broking, and Dheeraj Kumar, National Creative Director, Brand and Consumer Experience Motivator, which is a part of Group M, who will talk to us about the art of content mapping. Hi, Snehil. Hi, Prabhakar. Hi, Dheeraj.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi, Kanisha. Thanks
Hi.
for having us.
You're most welcome. So, my first question is to Snehil. Why is content mapping so important?
Sure. Thanks, Akansha. A pleasure to be here. See, the objective for the brand, for any content marketing or, for that matter, any marketing campaign is to A, acquire the customer, B, keep engaging and adding value to the customer till the transaction happens, right? And once the transaction is over, the companies try to engage with the same user to cross-sell understand where the user is in her or his buying journey, recommend the right content for the users as per the phase the user is in the buying journey. And if you don't do it, what is the risk? The risk is losing that customer to the competition. And if the user gets the right content that adds value in the journey and helps the user to move ahead in the journey, then the user sticks to in your product and eventually closes the transactions with you. Therefore, mapping of right content will help in both acquiring the high intent users, at the same time increasing the lifetime value of the customer. So in conclusion, I would say that if mapping and distribution are done right, done well, from the business result perspective, you will see your top line, right? Business top line, average revenue per user, that should grow. And more importantly, this should help the user to move in his or her buying journey and transact with you.
Sure, sure. Okay. So now that we know it's important, PT, I want to ask you that why aren't many brands really doing it well in India? In fact, some don't even know what content mapping is, and why should they exactly begin?
Right. Thanks, Akansha. And first of all, I want to thank you and the Buzzing Content team for inviting me here. And so I think the importance has been very well kind of shared by Snehal. So see, first of all, the basic thing is a customer journey. Now, question is how many marketers really understand their customer journeys? And more importantly, in an environment where the customer journeys are changing very fast. And that's because the almost all aspects of all steps of customer journeys are impacted in a big way. Many of the things which were earlier available in offline through dealers, through word of mouth, through posters, banners, handouts have now moved digital, right? So once when the understanding the customer journeys are so poor, then content mapping is a very different ask altogether, right? And so this is one thing which I believe is the big reason why people are not doing it right now. Now, why should they start doing it right away? Because gone are the days when people can, marketeers can say that, 50% of my marketing money is wasted. I do not know which 50%. Today, if you talk that kind of language in boardrooms or even to your business head, you'll be soon looking for another job. Okay. And it's a combination of art and science. That's what marketing always was, a combination of art and science, all thanks to digital tools which are available, and many of the customer journey which is now available digitally. There are digital crumbs. You can actually track customer journeys. Then you have to talk about customer journey in terms of being a science. And when it is a science, you can actually measure everything. So if you can measure everything, then the customer journey is there, content mapping is there. In fact, you can keep on shifting your content, like what is working, what is not working. So you can pilot it out. You can give it 1 month, 1 quarter, 2 monthly cycle, 3 monthly cycles, and you can change it accordingly. So I would advise all marketeers out there to move into content marketing like yesterday, like immediately.
Sure, sure. In fact, I put this question here because while I was doing a story on this a few days back, I approached almost like 20 brands, and 10 out of 20 brands said that they don't even know what content mapping is and they don't do it. And they were already into content marketing, heavily into influencer marketing. They were doing a lot of branded content. I still wonder that being so much into content marketing, why don't they exactly know the term content mapping as well? It's an important term to know, in fact.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So my next question is to Dheeraj. Can you share a good and bad approach of content mapping?
Very tough question for a creative guy, but thanks. First of all, thanks for inviting me here,
You are the
Kancha and Neeraj.
content Dheeraj. You know it so well.
Right. Right. So, see, I would like to start by addressing a very basic thing is that, I'm a great advocate of, brands should start acting as publishers. Once you have that attitude that I'm a brand who's a publisher also, and I have to put the right kind of content for my consumer, and all my KPIs are not landing on sales, right, or conversion, then you are defining your role as a content creator who has a very valuable um, place in your consumer's life. For example, if you are a fitness brand and if I get up in the morning, I get some, delightful videos from you, and then during the day, you're following me and telling me what to eat, what not to eat, how to sit and how to have a right posture and all that. That homework if I have done, right? So I'm there. I'm in the mind of my consumer all the time, and that mapping of my consumer's day, I want to see on a journey, purchase journey, right, has to be right, and that mapping will only happen when I'm working as a publisher. So what publishers do, if they don't deliver their content every week, I was in broadcasting for quite for a decade, and then I was with TVF. In broadcasting, every Wednesday and Thursday used to be a scary day, because then that's when where your ratings come, right? Basis that you plan your content ahead, right? So I think for brands the opportunity is that largely for digital ones, that they know their consumer, where they are, what they are doing, what they are liking, what they are disliking, and all that. And basis that they can actually figure out what kind of content they should deliver to them, right? And that's the good approach. The bad approach is that that when you start mixing up marketing, advertising with content, a lot of time what has happened is that we do AOPs, and there are only 2 or 3 sliders on content. Ki acha, on content hum ye kar lenge ya wo kar lenge, right? Some great ideas, and as you rightly said, an expensive idea, everybody will applaud about it, or the conversation starting with that, let's do something viral, which is really absurd conversation, right? I think the good approach is to act as a publisher, calendarize the emotions of your consumer, and map it to that calendar. And sometimes that calendar need not to be a financial calendar. I'm sure for a product like Prabhakar's, it's a financial calendar because consumers would like to look at a financial thing. But if it's an FMCG, which is January to December, so what are the various touch points for my consumers? How they will behave during the year? When are they consuming my product? When I have to prime them? When I have to come into their consideration set? And when I have to be when they're completing their purchase journey? What kind of content should be there? I think that calendarization and run with it, and be flexible be with it. If you are making mistakes in content, don't stop there, because people have made mistakes with traditional plans also. But then they reevaluate it and they go back and then they correct it. So I think that's the good approach. The bad approach is that you do not define what you have to do with the content. You do not set an assigned budget to it. Yeah, and a very bad word that we keep on hearing is that let's trade off content with something else if it's not working, right? So as I keep on saying, I've in several conversations with you, if advertising is ek lohar ki, content is so sonar ki. You have to keep on working. You will make mistakes. You will come up with some great ideas. You will come up with some bad ideas, and you need not to burn your budgets on one great idea. Do small things, do things which are economical, and but do it consistently, and that's the approach. Yeah.
That's like a very motivational answer to actually make all the marketers jump into content marketing right away, make mistakes and go ahead. Yeah. So Dheeraj, I have another question for you is that why is it so that born digital brands only do content mapping well? And why is it that offline brands and brands which are not heavily dependent on digital are not game for content mapping?
See, there's an advantage for digital brands because they are able to map the journey when consumers are coming to their website. How they're behaving there, when they're making their purchases, when they're logging out, and all that. I mean, Prabhakar and Sahil are the best people to even pitch in there. But I don't think that offline brands are not able to or do it poorly. It's a question of intent. For example, if I'm an FMCG brand and I'm tying up or renting out social media with my partner, I can create a content mapping there. I can give them certain KPIs. I can have my daily or weekly kind of evaluation with them and all that, right? So that kind of stuff has to be there. I give you a very small example. Very interesting example is that I was reading this book by Phil Knight, Nike's shoe dog. Now Nike is not an online brand. Now it's an online brand. Of course, it's available online, right? But when Nike's founder is launching a book and talking about the brand so passionately, is that a content piece for me? Yes, that book is a content piece for me. Because I'm an athlete. I would love to read about how that brand is built. Is book a content for me as an offline brand, right? Is a magazine is a content for me as an offline brand? Then when we are saying that offline brands are not able to map it, then what kind of content formats are there that we need to develop as an offline brand also? Not largely latching on only to digital, but what are the other formats which are available to the brand? So, and it's a matter of a good mix of digital and good mix of other things that they do. And I don't think that mapping should be a problem for them.
So can you exactly answer that? How can offline brands actually map their content? Because what I generally see is they do a lot of either influencer or a lot of social media post. And
So I give you a small example. We are doing a campaign for one of our brands, and there's a a weekly or after every 50 days we have a report. Okay, when we launched this influencer video, what kind of engagement was there? What kind of comments were there? What people were saying about the brand? When we are going for a subsequent video launches, what are the things that we need to get right? Right. So these are the things that we need to. It has to be in place, right? So if you are doing a tracking even with the third party, or if you're doing a tracking with your content partners, you're not a content creator yourself. If it's in place, I don't think that content mapping is a problem for offline brand as such.
okay.
Again, I'm saying it's a matter of intent. And also, quickly, I'll just conclude this, is that we have to have a dedicated resource who's a good enabler between creators and the brand, right? Sometimes what happens, you don't have a content resource either at your agency side or in your own team. Content then is hanging around, and then whatever is coming on your table are either you're accepting it or you are rejecting it basis whatever evaluation is put on your table. Yeah.
Having a middleman is altogether another discussion that I think we should have it next time. Coming back to Snehil, so what kind of content should be offered to consumers at different stages?
Okay. As rightly mentioned by Dheeraj, right, that there is always a way to do content mapping, whether you are a digital brand or an offline brand. And obviously, the avenues of doing it is very different. It's much easier to do it on digital because you can understand the user activity on digital platforms, and you can customize your content mapping, your content creation accordingly. And there are many examples in the current set of internet organizations where the brands are either trying to acquire the customers through the content, or re-engage with the customers to keep the brand on the top of the mind. There are examples of Flipkart and Amazon. They are putting lots of emphasis on creating videos, audio contents, Flipkart stories, Amazon Prime videos, to retain the users on their platform and increase the lifetime value of the customers. So whatever your objective is as a brand, you need to first of all segment your user journey into different buckets, and then create content for each of these buckets. And let me give you an example, and I'll take the example of housing.com here. As housing.com is a platform where users visit to buy a home, right? And it's a process of on average 3 to 6 months. And what we have done is we have bifurcated buying journey into 4 phases. The first one is the pre-discovery and the financial planning phase, where you have money and you start to think about buying home, or maybe your parents are forcing you to think about buying home. There are lots of social aspects to it as well. And then the second phase is the discovery and the shortlisting phase, where you have shortlisted the set of localities you want to buy home in. You have shortlisted the configuration you want to buy in. Third phase is the site visit and final decision, where you have shortlisted 3 or 4 projects and you want to finally decide among those 3 or 4 projects. And finally, final phase is the negotiation and the purchase phase, right? So what we do is, whatever content we create, we make sure that that content is falling into one of these buckets. And, it is actually helping the users to move from one bucket to the other. So for example, in the first bucket, which is, the pre-discovery and financial planning, you will see lots of content on our housing news and social media. And you can read about the myths, the hurdles, the pitfalls in the journey. We make videos on the topics that will actually help people to understand the real estate and that buying process better. Similarly, if you are in the second phase, which is, shortlisting phase and discovery phase, we have locality listings, we have locality videos, we have broker ratings and reviews. So the idea is whatever content you have, you are actually helping the user. And in the same breath, if you have for the third phase, which is site visit and final decision, we have peer-to-peer discussion forum. You can ask the question there. If I'm going to buy home, I would like to know about RERA, what details the developer has put in RERA for that project. So what we do on housing is, bring out all RERA details of the project and showcase it to the user. And finally, if I have shortlisted the project, then I would like to understand, that particular project. So I will showcase the user, a 360 view of that project. I will showcase a sample flat video of that project. So, that's the kind of mindset that you need to have, that you need to understand your user well. You need to understand user's journey, and you need to segment that user journey, and then create your content strategy in such a way that your content pieces fit in that buckets of the user journey, and then you distribute it. Now, content has 2 parts. The first part is, what to communicate. And the second part is, what is the best format to communicate, right? We discussed on what to communicate part. And So it's basically, it should be adding value to the user. It should be relevant to the journey phase where the user is, and that's how you create the content. On the second part, which is the format of the content, whether it should be photos, it should be video, audio, written form, all that depends upon how the users would be more comfortable consuming it. So there is no, black and white answer to it. And as Pravakar mentioned, that the way to go about it, it's keep experimenting on the format, and keep distributing it to the users, take the feedback from the user, and keep changing the content.
Sure. So, PT, my next question is to you, because Snehal has already answered what kind of content should be offered at various purchase journey stages. A lot of brands create large scale campaigns, or like music videos, long films, chat shows, and web series. And they're just the only piece of content that they create. So how can one map these in the consumer journey? Would these fall only in the awareness level, or can we treat it in a different format to actually put it in various journeys of the purchase journeys of the consumers? Asking this question because such content pieces require a lot of efforts, time, and investment. So how can brands actually treat such content pieces?
Akansha, that's a very interesting question, and particularly from what Snehal has discussed, in detail regarding housing. See, first of all, nowadays content format and the way you label them are quite misleading. Okay, what you consider as a musical video could be anything. It could be something which Pepsi will do with Basha, her swag mein, whatever, like her ghoot mein swag hai kind of, or it could be something that some airline would develop as a safety video, asking people to take safety precautions while traveling by air. Now, if you look at that, so what is that musical video about? Is it about fun, entertainment, creating some emotions for the brand, or are they educational video? Look, let's talk about chat show. Chat show also can be very misleading. You can be talking to a celebrity where the sponsorship is from the brand, or it can be a chat show where, like, it can be a Ken Taro chat show where some two experts are talking about different kind of ROs, and talking about how Kent is better than, say, Aqua Fresh or Aqua Pure or something else which is there in the market. So we cannot really say that the content label would per se tell us that where exactly they fit in the customer journey, right? So customer journey, it is rather the task for which that content has been productionized. And that's the reason why when I talk about angel broking, like, we have differentiated between brand marketing content, we have differentiated between the content quality and strategy, and we have another department per se which we call content factory. So there our focus is, like, once we have defined the task a content needs to do, then it's a very efficient production of large scale, large volume of content. That's how we kind of differentiate. And so the point I'm making here is that content format can be placed anywhere in the customer journey if you're clear about the objective behind those those content format. And in all of that, user intent is very important. Now, user intent, like, for example, we use something called Google Campaign Manager. So Google Campaign Manager gives me a customer journey path from they kind of seeing any of my advertisement or clicking on any of my ad and becoming from a user to a lead to a conversion. So I know all customer journey path. Sometime customer comes from a YouTube video directly to the kind of a lead form. Sometimes they come from Facebook creative, so they can come from anywhere. So today, unlike in past where the customer journey are very segmented, step-by-step approach, now it is crunched. Now today, what I call it, a quantum mechanics is available. The classic physics law cannot be applied in today's customer journey. It's a quantum physics. So anything can happen anywhere. So if you are being too scientific about it, then you will lose out. You would rather keep understanding that for this particular month, for this particular week, and sometime for this particular last day, what was the customer journey? Where did I get most of my volume? What are the assisted conversions? Where did I get the best conversion? And then accordingly, you have to keep changing the location, the purpose of your content. You have to repurpose content. Other thing that you asked is that same content, can it be used in other places? Of course, they can be. The content can be repurposed. And content is not just so about your intention as a marketer. Content sometime it is about like what user wants to know, and you have to make it easier for the user to kind of choose the kind of content they want to see. The only grave mistake you can do is you can keep pushing content which users don't like, and if they don't like, you should have some mechanism basis the click rate coming down, basis the amount of time spent. You should be able to make out that users are not liking it, and then you have to put something else there. So somewhere, I will again to summarize, it all depends. It's not the content formats and the labeling are misleading. It all depends on the objective of the content, and all of these are decided about not just the customer journey, but what is the current brand challenge. Are you working towards awareness creation? Are you bothered about the consideration that the brand is not part of the brand repertoire, or the basket in which people are considering the brands, or the issue is with purchase intention? So basis that mega challenge, you have to take your content challenges, and you have to kind of use the content format accordingly.
Sure. But is it right to say that content pieces like these, like web series and music videos, mostly fall in the awareness level?
They can, but let me tell you that, they can also be about giving a demonstration. Like, for example, I'm just hypothetically saying that there is a robot from Milagro, and that robot is about, doubling up as a floor cleaner kind of thing. Now, if they place it in, say, Tarak Mehta Ka Ulta Chashma or some other web series, and there you can actually see the demo of that particular product. So will you call it awareness, or will you call it a demonstration? So it's a matter of like, how the entire branded thing has been integrated with the content, and then you can decide. It's just a passing mention, a brand logo visibility, some salience building measure, then it is awareness. But if it is much more than that, which is about talking about a particular feature, or getting someone with certain celebrity quotient to give it as a testimonial, the entire kind of purpose will change.
Sure. Fine. I think I've understood this whole answer well. Dheeraj, one very important aspect which is mostly left out in mapping content is that brands think that the job is done once the consumer has made the purchase and he no more needs content around the product. So, can you elaborate if this is even the right way to go around content mapping?
No, that's a very risky thing to do. I mean, it's like a short-lived relationship with consumer, and you have a risk of losing to the competition if you are not doing it continuously. Even after the purchase journey is completed, you have to be in the consideration set of consumer, as Snehal rightly said. Then they can become your advocates. They can, they are always engaged with the brand, and that's a wrong way of looking at content, I would like to say. You don't stop your marketing campaigns, right? After your KPIs are done for that particular marketing campaign, right? You have another campaign to launch, and content is always on kind of a thing, right? That's why I said, for example, if you are not giving me fitness videos in the morning, you stop giving me fitness videos of yoga and all that in the morning, I'll start looking for those videos somewhere else. Is it provided by a brand? Is it provided by an influencer? That's the question. But if it is provided by a brand, which is your competition, then you're at the risk of losing me as your consumer. So that's a wrong approach. And I can see why you're asking this question, because sometimes we look at content as just one tick mark and say, okay, the job is done. All right. Okay, the Diwali is done with some emotional content, and some award-worthy stuff is done there, and our work is done. But that's not how I would like to advocate about the content. And I think there's a good amount of effort, time and again, connecting with the consumer is what content does, and that's how it should be practiced.
Mhm. Another reason that I asked this question was because we divide the consumer journey into three parts. No, one is the awareness, second is consideration, and third is purchase. And whenever we have these conversations, we end up at the purchase level. What beyond that? How to engage with your consumers beyond that? Gently, we purchase level पर आके we just say that now the work of content is done. Let's move on. That's why I asked this question.
Yeah. All right. So I'll just conclude it. See, you have to define: are you a commodity? Are you a product? Are you a brand? If you are a brand, you will you will not stop creating content. If you are a commodity, you may, right? So that's in your mind, and that you have to decide.
Sure. So my next question is again to Snehal. What role does measurement play in content mapping, and what are the things to be kept in mind here?
Okay, I think that's a good question. That's where data becomes very crucial. There are two things, especially in the context of what we are discussing today. You can determine with the help of data, and the first thing is, if you are a digital company, I'm talking more from the digital platform perspective. So you can know where your user is right now in his or her buying journey, right? And you can customize your communication accordingly. And the second part is you can, I think Prabhakar kind of mentioned that as well, that you can also measure the quality of the content that you have created. So these are the two measurements pieces which I feel is extremely important if you are in this content marketing business. For example, data plays a very crucial part in answering the question, where the user is in his, buying journey based on the user activity on your platform. So, for example, what we see at Housing is how many listings the user has seen, how many properties he has seen. He has seen at city level or locality level, what kind of configurations he is looking at. And you can actually see the user, a cohort of the user moving from a city level search to more locality level search, more config level. And it's amazing because if you look at the dashboard, you can actually see a cohort of users moving from one bucket to the other and eventually purchasing that property, right? So we have built this customer seriousness index, and based on the user activity, frequency, and recency on the platform, we kind of figure out how much serious the consumer is in his home buying journey, and then customize our communication, whether it is on emails, WhatsApp, or even when he comes back on our platform, he will see a very different listings or content compared to what I or you will see on the platform, right? So that kind of customization is extremely important, and that can happen only if you're measuring the user activity well. And the second thing is you can also measure the quality of your content, right? So if you have created a blog, you can check how many users are actually reading the entire article, right? If you have created a video, you can measure how many people are actually viewing the entire video. And this feedback goes back to the content creators, content creative team to keep improving. So, the measurement of the user activity and content quality really helps us become much better and much more effective as far as content marketing is concerned.
Sure. I remember talking to Girnarsoft CMO Gaurav Mehta once, and he told me that when it comes to measurement, people generally look at views and likes and engagement. But he also mentioned one thing that one should also look at propensity of the number of times the consumer is coming online to consume a content. So he talked about this word propensity. That it's also an important metric to actually measure your content.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think content, the idea is if the user is coming back to your platform with the content and you are building that trust, that relationship with the user, that's the ultimate win you want from your content marketing.
Yeah, and he said one should also measure that as well.
Yeah.
So my last question is for everyone. What is your one tip or one thing that content marketers should keep in mind while mapping content? And I think, PT, we can begin with you.
Great. Thanks, Akansha. Okay, so for this question, I think something that you used in your promotional material, for my profile, what I told that time, that knowing the user intent, and that's a single most important thing for content mapping. I won't even go to the, customer journey, because customer journey is also some bit of, aggregation or some helicopter view, right? User intent can be far more granular, and that granularity is the kind of hallmark of digital. Because because of the smartphone usage, because of the multiple way in which different platforms work, the web and app behavior, it's possible for us to kind of start labeling user intent, and basis that we have to map the content. The day when you have a buckets of user intents with the buckets of custom content mapped around them, and you see a good churn rate and a good usage rate, and your measurements are working fine, I think you have won. So one tip again, just to summarize, know your user intent as you map the content.
Sure. Dheeraj, what is your take?
Akansha, it rhymed. So know your user intent as you map your content. So that's how it is.
Dheeraj, what is your take?
I think he said it all, and he put it so, he articulated so very well. What I would like to say here, more from the creation point of view, do not look at content marketing as a cost center. I give you a very fine example when I say, when brands are becoming publishers, is that, if your consumer is coming time and again to your platform and consuming your content, it means it's also building reach for you. It's building viewability for you. Can it become a product itself? Can a category, for example, can automobile brand come to housing.com and say, hey, there are a lot of young viewers out there who are watching your content, and I've launched a car which is very similar to their taste. Whatever you're doing is great. Can this my car be part of when you're showcasing your flats or whatever, you're doing your outdoor content? I'm just giving an example, right? When you are able to build that kind of mentality of a publisher, I think content mapping will happen itself, because it is motivating you to deliver qualitative content which is relevant for your consumer, and content for which your consumer is coming back to you and asking, hey, where's my video, right? If that's going to happen, I think content mapping will be taken care of.
Sure. Snehal, what is your take?
So my take is very simple, Akansha. I would urge people to keep interacting with your consumers, with your users, and it's very simple to hear, listen, but seldom used. I have seen people sitting in the office and not interacting with the consumers. So my first advice to all content marketeers is first interact with your consumers, understand their pain points, and just solve for it. And lastly, is experiment is the key. There will be many contents that will fail, right? But there is no way you can say that the content marketing is not working. And there will be many that will become successful. So you should learn from those successful ones, but learn more from those content that didn't work, and that will make you a more effective content marketer.
Sure. I think for my viewers over here, if you guys have any question, you can definitely write to us at info@bestmediainfo.com, info@bestmediainfo.com. And I will ensure that I get your answers, because I'm not able to see the comments or anything or even if they're coming. But later on, if you guys have any question, you can definitely write to us. And thank you so much, guys. I had a great time having such an amazing, insightful discussion. We intend to bring forth more such conversations going ahead. I'm also thankful to the viewers who took out time to watch the first episode. I will keep you guys posted about the next episode in April. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Dheeraj. Thank you, Prabhakar. Thank you, Snehal, for your time.
Pleasure being part of this panel. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Snehal. Thank you. Thanks, Neeraj. Bye-bye.